What other advices do you have for people coming into the new year? Is there anything you want to like overall share?
Let's see. I guess coming into the new year,
I think as we, unwind and close out the year 2024, how are you feeling? We're about to step into a new year. Where are you at right now, mentally, spiritually, physically?
I guess, well, it has been a year.
Definitely.
There's a lot of things that I didn't anticipate that would happen, but a lot of also like really awesome things that happened this year. So I think, going into next year, I do have a lot of, mindset shifts and just like new goals and just new things that I want to, try out and just do things differently from what I learned from this year. So I think that's a good thing. You
Definitely.
always learn, what could have worked out better and you can apply it to next year.
Yeah.
So,
What are some of those specific things that you want to shift?
definitely making more use of routine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, earlier this year, I got laid off from my full time job, and so I'm still looking for my job. But I think having that routine, I think will really help me because when I used to go to work, I had my schedule. Like I would
Yeah.
do things a certain time, like go to the gym, in between, or when I have my schedule available. Um, but because I don't have that routine, it's like, oh, I've been pushing it off.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do have that discipline when I have that schedule, I just have to start. But yeah, I would definitely like to work on my time management or like just having that time to like block off everything for everything that I need to do
Hmm.
because being in that routine helps me just do things more productively.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
definitely.
rather than just like, oh, I'm just going to spontaneously do this because that's not very helpful for me. And yeah, it's just more accountability when it's in a calendar and I do a
Mm,
certain thing at a certain
right,
time.
structure, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's very important for people when they're trying to set their routine is you don't have to be efficient, you just have to be effective,
Right.
right? You could fill
Mhm.
your calendar up with a bunch of different things and it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, check off, check off, check off.
Hmm.
But like, are you really being intentional and doing things that
Yeah.
count, right?
Right.
So I think that helps with like time management and schedule wise. So, where do you find time for yourself right now? Or is that like the time that you're just figuring out who you are and trying to develop new things?
Mm, I guess right now. Wait, can you reword the question?
Yeah, yeah. So I guess, you said you're so used to having structure and
Yeah.
routine, right? Which you
Mhm.
don't have right now.
Yeah.
So how are you occupying this time? Is this time
Mhm.
going towards yourself
Yeah.
or
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, for me, like because of the hectic schedule that I had like with work, I didn't have a lot of sleep. So, I've been really like been able to catch up with my sleep, which I think has helped a lot with just like in general like my mental health and like just being able to sleep fully and like not really have to like in a stress in the stress aspect of it, like, I
Mhm.
obviously my stress level for work is, like, less, but, like, when I think about, "Oh, I have stuff that I have to pay for, like, how am I gonna pay
uh,
for this?" It's a different kind of stress, but, like, it's more I don't know, I feel like it's more manageable for me because, I can take the time and, like, spend more time with, my family and, like, taking care of my dad who, just recently came out of the hospital, so, like, if I did have that job, then I would have to take time off work, but because that I was able to I don't have my job right now, like, I was really able to take care of him and make sure everything was taken care of, so, yeah, there's just, like, the good and the bad of,
mhm.
like,
Yeah.
all of that, but,
Yeah.
right now, I would say a lot of my time is just spending it, just really just relaxing, but, doing things that I wanna do, like, that I haven't been able to, like, just really, work on other stuff that, I'm trying to work on my music again.
Yes, yes.
But really just also cleaning a lot because, my room, just a lot of things that I have like been brushing off, like
Uh-huh.
that I haven't had time to do. Like I'm actually like, oh, like this is more organized. Like I've been pushing it off. So just doing things that I really wanted to like in the back of my mind, I'm like, "Oh, I need
Mm,
to do all these things." So, like, I'm slowly getting through that list
good.
finally
Yeah.
because I have that time.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I would say I'm putting it back into myself just in that sense of, doing things that I need to do to like feel like organized and like also fill my time like intentionally like with my
Yes.
family and my friends and my boyfriend and with my dog
Mhm, mhm.
because like I felt so bad like when I was working from home, like I work from home but he still didn't get the attention because I'm always in meetings or like doing things, but now I can actually like take naps with my dog and like play with him and
Yeah.
like take him out more often. So yeah, I think that's been what I've been able to do with this time that I have now, but I can be a lot better with how I'm doing
For
spending
sure.
my time now, but, that's something that I definitely wanna work into next year.
Yeah. Shout
Mhm.
out Graham one time.
You forgot my
But
dog.
but yeah, I feel like that's a very necessary thing to do, right? And
Yeah,
like you said, it was a blessing in disguise,
right.
right? So I'm glad you're able to find that time now,
Yeah,
and it's like being more purposeful about it, right?
yeah.
So then like coming into next year, is this still the same approach that you want to take, or what things do you want to implement into,
Mhm.
this new year coming?
Yeah. No, I definitely wanna try a new approach next year, and like one of the things that I love to do is journaling, but like I've had this journal and I've had it, but it's
Uh,
been on my nightstand. Like I put it there for a reason, like, oh, like I'll see it, so I'm gonna do it. But I never end up doing it. So but journaling is definitely something that's helped me like clear my mind. Like even when I was a kid, like I had a diary. So
oh,
like
okay,
that was
okay.
like my journaling.
Mhm.
But yeah, even like 5 minutes to just like write down anything that's like on my mind or like what I'm grateful for, like the top 3 things that I'm grateful for that day, or just things that I need to do, like, it really helps. So, like, that clarity, of just
Yes.
writing something down from your head and out and, like, on paper.
Mhm. Definitely.
So, yeah, I think that's something that I really need to get back into is journaling, and then also just, making time to go to work out or, like,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be like me necessarily going to the gym, but like just like, like take a 15-minute walk
Yeah.
just outside and be in nature and like take a fresh air.
Very
And
important. Yeah.
yeah, so things like that. Like I really want to do small actionable like steps and like
Yes.
not just like a giant big thing because then when I have big things, then I just like oh, like I have to do this.
Mm.
But if it's smaller and it's easier, then I think it's something more tangible, like more consistency that I can do with
Yeah.
it. So that's what yeah, that's some of the plans that I have.
Right?
How
Small
about
steps
yourself?
lead to big wins
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talk about journaling, right? And like what you're grateful for and going through the day. Do you also include like goals? Like, okay,
Mhm.
I want to get this done. This is what's on my mind the next day, or like this is what I
Mhm.
accomplished today, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like, having, like, checklists and stuff, like, I put everything in my calendar because if I don't, then it's not happening, I'm gonna
Yeah.
forget.
Uh,
Like, especially, like, as we're older, like, everybody's busy, so their
mhm.
schedules are different, so we're, like, 3 months ahead of time, like, we
Yeah.
need to plan this or else it's not gonna happen.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those action items, right? Like, how do you approach? So now let's say you
Mhm.
have a goal. Let's
Yeah.
say I want to get, like you said, going back to you creating music again
Yeah.
because you have your computer.
Yeah.
So is this something that, like, okay, I have this goal in mind. How do you approach getting that goal and
Yeah.
completing it?
Um, I guess I would say it would depend on like for example, if I want to put out an EP,
Mhm.
I would work backwards from like, like how many songs am I gonna
Okay,
have
okay.
on there? Or like, is there like a theme that's gonna be behind the songs? So it's like in a way, I guess a lot of it can be planned, but, like, there's just so many ways to plan it out.
Right.
So, like, I guess I would have to write different iterations of, like, what could I do if I went this route or this route? But I guess just starting is really
Right.
the
Exactly.
thing.
That's
Yeah,
that's
like, it
really it.
doesn't have to be perfect, but
Uh,
just start, just write, just do something that
just
will,
do
like,
something.
get, like, music or, like, my songs out there. Like it could be something just as small as like me listening to some random instrumental on YouTube and then just like either humming lyrics to it or like writing something that it comes to my mind when I'm listening to it. Like it could be something small like that. So I think like just really spending or making time, blocking off time to just like, okay, 5 minutes, set the timer, cat, go on YouTube, find an instrumental and just start freestyling, like, I think that would really help me. Like, you know those, 30-day project things?
Yes,
Like, a
yeah,
lot of
uh-huh,
I'm friends with a lot of DJs, but, like, a lot of them, they'll, like, do 1 beat a day or, like, let's do a mix, like, every week or something. So, I think small things like that, like, I think that would help me, like, in my creative rut.
yeah,
And
definitely, yeah,
yeah, just, like, writing a lot. Just writing and practicing and just being in that, zone. So, like,
yeah,
just take that time, set it aside, and, like, just go off that timer and
right.
just try. Yeah.
Where do you find inspiration when you're trying to create music?
I feel like a lot of the time, well, in the past, so, like, the song that I wrote, "Waste My Time," that's not released right now, it actually came out of, um this person that I had a connection with, like, musically, like, he was like, "Oh, you should talk to or email this person because they're looking, to work with, new artists." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I'll definitely, like, send them, like, some of my YouTube covers or SoundCloud covers." And, it went well, like, they were like, "Oh, yeah, we love your voice, but do you have any originals?" And I was like,
Mm,
"I don't." So then that day, like, before I replied to that person, I literally spent the whole, like, next, like, 8 hours or something just writing to make this song, like
yeah,
but I was able to finish it,
good,
like, miraculously, and, I was able to send it, um did I send it? Oh my god, did I? I forgot if I sent it or not,
uh-huh,
cause like, oh my god, time is just all blended together, but
yeah,
I remember, like, if I hadn't had that, high stress pressure situation, I wouldn't have had that song,
yeah,
um but it actually came out of, like, a fictional story.
oh,
So the lyrics behind it is basically like, "Oh, like, why'd I waste my time on you? Like, you have all these girls on your phone, like, what am I doing?" But it's crazy because the lyrics actually well, it applied to my situation, like, a couple years ago where it was kinda similar to, like, a previous relationship that I had, and, like, the lyrics kinda matched it.
ah,
So, I wasn't intentional, but
yeah,
it
yeah,
just it just
yeah,
happened, but
yeah,
I feel like a lot of yeah, the inspiration from my music just comes from either, like, past experiences or, um sometimes it just comes from, like, the music itself, like, when I hear something, I'm like, "Oh, like, it sounds like it could go this way," because the chord progression sounds like, oh, like, it's, like, inspirational or it's, like, positive
mm, mhm,
or, like, there's sadder ones that are like, "Oh, like, this could be a really good, like, heartbreak song or something," like, I can write the melody and it could be, like, very emotional. So yeah, I think, the inspiration for my music can come from anywhere.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that was a great example. You said this high pressure situation, and then
Yeah.
this came out of it, right?
Right.
And not
Yeah.
to say that every day has to be a high pressure
Yeah.
situation, but then it's like if you just put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, something's
Yeah.
going to happen, right?
Right. Right.
And then I'm glad that you're starting to you're getting this original music out,
Yeah.
or like, starting to create it again. So it's
Yeah.
like as you start doing it, how do you line up these days? Because, not every day is going to be a great day. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I can't make a song today. Maybe it's not coming to me.
Right.
But then, what is your mindset coming into, let's just say you have a few bad days, a few
Mhm.
bad consecutive days.
Right.
How are you going to approach that next day?
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, like, the whole situation with, like, the layoff and then my dad going to the hospital, like, right before Thanksgiving, like, for some people, like, it could be a lot to handle, like,
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, man," like, what else could go wrong? But, like, that isn't my mindset, so, like, I've had friends, ask me how I'm doing and things like that. But for me, because of the growth that I've had and the ability for me to, like, rewire, like, how I think
Hmm.
about, the situations that I'm put in, like, I still put myself, or I put my mind in, like, a positive mindset, like, 'cause, like even if my dad was in the hospital, like, he was getting better, and like I just had that mindset that, like he's going to get through it, and it's going to help us, because even though he was in the hospital, like it was also bittersweet, but I was able to spend a lot more time with him, and like really take the time to care for him, which, would not have been possible like if it didn't happen,
Right.
but because I would typically see him like, once a month or like on the weekends because we're just so busy. But in that time, like up to today, like I've been seeing him like every day. And so, that relationship has been able to be more, more frequent,
Yeah.
with my dad. But yeah, like what you were saying back to the mindset thing, like if this was me like a couple years ago, like I would probably be very sad, just thinking of and overthinking a lot about just the situation. But now that I've had that time in my life, like now, like today, like I would not really like let that affect me. Like, even if the layoff was really like sudden, or like even the hospital visit was like stressful because you're like,
Yeah.
like I don't want anything bad happening to my dad. But I just kept having that mindset of, like whatever's happening right now, like I mean, there are things out of my control, but let's do what I can with what I have, and
Yeah.
like just keep praying and like having that faith and like having that mindset that um there are things that are happening right now, but you know I can make it into something better, like in the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So I think you just gave me a perfect example of, back then you would have been sad
Hmm.
versus today.
Yeah.
So back then, what was a mindset that you used to have that you currently don't need anymore because
Yeah.
you need a new mindset in order to approach this differently?
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned, I
Mhm.
used to be such a big overthinker.
Mhm.
Um, like I would fall into that trap of like, what is the worst case scenario? Like I would tell that to
Mm.
myself. But like I realize, or like now that I've learned about, changing your mindset and that mind shift, it's like, well, if you keep on putting these things or these words about like negative things or like doubts and things like that, then obviously your mind is not in a good place. It's like
Yeah.
in that negative mindset.
Mhm.
But if you frame things in a more positive way, um, positive things happen. It's
Yeah.
like before, like I would always think negatively and it would cause me to really like self-deprecate. So
Yeah.
it wasn't healthy at all. And I would be like really sad. But like luckily, I was able to have therapy because my work provided it for me at that time. And what I learned from therapy in that time was like, a lot of the times our minds just like come up with things that are not even true. Like when it comes to at least like, negative things.
Mhm.
So I learned how to really like separate what are facts from like what am I thinking in my head.
Mm.
And then yeah, so I used to be, yeah, a really bad overthinker. But now like my mindset is like, you know, I don't have to think about things like that. Like negative scenarios in my head. Like it doesn't really happen anymore. Um because I realize, that's not true. Like these are the facts of like what's happening now, and then it's okay to have feelings about them, obviously, like, you
Yeah.
have to feel your feelings,
Mhm.
but, I learned that, like, once you've felt your feelings and you've let them, like you let it take its course, like, you move on
Yeah,
because,
right.
like, you can't be like that forever, you can't feel that emotion forever, and you just kinda move forward. So, like, now my mindset is, like, when bad things happen, I just do things that I can, like, beyond that are not or within my
Mhm,
control,
mhm.
right? So that I can take control of it and just really push myself forward. Because yeah, like I've told this to my boyfriend before, like Zach, like he knows that I used to overthink a lot because I would tell him about all these things. But now like it's been a really like long amount of time where I really haven't overthought like that.
Good.
And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
whoa, that's so weird. Like,
Right.
um, yeah, but it took a lot of like inner
Engineering?
healing and
Mhm.
like a lot of just like work with myself to
Yes,
get to that
definitely.
point. So yeah, I think like now today, like my mindset with things is just like when you think good things, like good things happen. Yeah. So like whatever, I guess, what you say is really like what happens. So
Mhm.
like I really try not to say anything negative or like things that are like that I don't want to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I always try to talk or reframe things in a way where like, oh yeah, like things are gonna work out and I'm so lucky and like these things are gonna happen for me. And so yeah, I think that mindset, like it's not easy to get there.
Mm-mm.
It's not.
Mhm.
It takes time, but like once you get into that mindset, like it's so easy. It just happens like on its own. Like you don't even think about it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? And I think what you said is an example of the law of attraction, right? It's what
Mhm.
you think is going to happen will happen in that sense of it. Or, like you said, positive thinking leads to positive results,
Yeah.
right? And comparing back from the bad times versus the good times now, it's just in your mind, you're just like, look, nothing changes if nothing changes, right?
Mhm.
So, by having that reframing and that mindset shift, it just changes everything. And like you
Yeah.
said, it's not easy, right?
Right.
People say easier said than done, which it isn't.
Mhm.
But if one wants to get towards that point, they have to do the work. So they're
Mhm.
going to have to do all those steps and those, hard, difficult things in
Yeah.
order to see the better side of things.
Mhm.
So it's like just having that hope and, like you said earlier, faith and believing that like it's going to happen. You just have to like really stick it through,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't think that it's going to happen, then it
Right.
won't happen, right?
Right.
You
You have to
just
really feel it, like, in
exactly.
yourself, like, 100%. Like, you
Mhm.
can't just well, for me,
Mhm. Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
just think it, like, you
Yeah.
really have to put yourself and feel that feeling that you want when you want the things that you want,
Yes,
if that makes
exactly.
sense,
Yes, no,
yeah.
because manifesting, it
Yeah.
comes from you thinking it, you have
Yeah.
to believe it,
Right.
and then that last important one, gotta follow it up with action,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So let's just say, I don't know, what is an example for you currently that you would like to implement or manifest coming into this 2025?
Yeah. Coming into the next year, definitely manifesting, that I can perform or open for someone.
Yes, okay, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
that would be
yeah,
really fun.
definitely.
Yeah.
What actionable steps can you do to get there?
Definitely, well, the first thing is to put out more my original
Yeah,
music,
yeah.
but, just keep on posting, like, my music, like I was actually planning on, putting out a cover of Twee,
Okay, yeah,
her song,
yes.
it's called Date.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so
Yep,
catchy,
right.
but it's like it's a fun song, and I
Mhm.
wanted to cover it
Yeah.
just for fun and post it and tag her and be like, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Do you need an opener?"
Right,
I
right.
don't know, we'll
Are you gonna
see.
do, like, a different rendition, or is it gonna be
I think it'll probably just be a normal cover
okay,
the way I
okay.
usually do
Yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
and then, like, post it on SoundCloud.
Okay, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I know sometimes you, like, mix songs together, right, and make a
Right,
medley.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
mashups and
Mhm.
stuff.
Those
No,
are cool.
this yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're fun.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah.
And then, no, we won't shout out Tweet, but shout out Tweet. We'll see
Yes.
her, March 1st.
Yes.
Yeah, March 1st, right?
I don't
Okay.
remember the date, I
I
just
think
know it's
so.
in March.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, I do wanna, touch on the fact of like overcoming hard times, right?
Mhm.
And conquering those things.
Yeah.
So like for you, it doesn't have to be an example, but like what goes through your mind? I know you talked about like versus overthinking versus
Yeah.
now, but let's just say like what did those bad things because we don't want to disregard those
Yeah.
bad things in our
Right.
past versions of ourselves
Mhm.
because we could obviously learn from it and
Yeah.
grow from it. But like, what have those, let's say, older mindsets or, oh, sorry, not older, younger
Mhm.
mindsets
Yeah.
and all those things, what have those helped? What have those done for you
Mhm.
currently, present day cat?
Oh, a lot. Like, obviously, one of them would be, like, I don't let people overstep their boundaries anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Good.
that's a big thing
Yeah.
because, I used to be a people pleaser, like, a big people pleaser, but, I learned that, like, when you do that, people take advantage of it.
Oh, yeah.
And, like,
Yeah.
because, "Oh, like, she's so nice, like, she won't do anything about it." But
Yeah.
now it's like, well, I need to respect myself enough to, like, say no to things, or like just not just people, but like also like just people with like certain mindsets and things like that, because um a lot of how we are, or like our personalities, is like from the people that we associate with. So like
Mhm.
it's important to like really protect yourself and like be with like-minded people, is what
Yes.
I'm saying. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously there's different groups of people for different things and like networking, and I mean that's normal, you know. But like when it comes to like really the people that you surround yourself with and like support you, like you really want to find those people that are like-minded. Sorry, I went on a tangent,
No,
but
you're
like
good. Yeah.
when it comes to boundaries, what I'm saying is like you know, being in a Filipino household, like I'm Filipino, I'm full first generation, like there's gonna be a lot of old, you know, traditional mindsets that you'll come across in your family or relatives or just anything. But like, even though it's really hard, like you have to be, well, if you want to be that, you want to break those boundaries or those intergenerational things that like prevent you from like moving forward and like putting those old outdated
Yeah.
traditional thoughts like
Mhm.
out. Like I guess like our families, you know, that were immigrating here, like they would say like, "Oh, she speaks up and she's like talking over me, like she's disrespecting me." But really, I'm just trying to answer your question. Like when it's things like that, like you're trying to respond to like your family, but they think that you're disrespecting them or trying to be disobedient, but you're really just trying to talk and you know, state your voice
Yeah.
like about something that's important to you. So like I had to really like learn how to approach that with my family in like a different way so that they would understand that, you know, like if you talk to me like the certain way, like even if it's on text message or something, like I'm not gonna continue like the conversation. Like I will respectfully like say goodbye and like I can't talk
Right.
because it's like overstepping my boundaries. So like it's been a difficult thing to navigate, but
Right.
it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like you're just gonna be stuck, um, and trying to like make yourself small, like and things like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that's a you gave 2 good examples. One is, like, who you surround yourselves with. So let's just say you could have toxic friends or something like
Yeah.
that, and then you have, obviously your family. So then
Mhm.
those 2 things about putting boundaries are very important.
Yeah.
And that, it's a hard thing because these are people you love,
Right.
right? But at the end of the day, you have to kinda put yourself first. And
Yeah.
it's not in a selfish way, right?
Right.
It's not
Mhm.
like you don't want to there's times where, okay, you could just, like, not say anything and just walk out the door,
Yeah.
which is also an okay thing
Right.
because
Right.
maybe you're not ready or they might not be ready to
Right.
receive what you're ready to say,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So it's
Exactly.
like, okay, or, sometimes it's like, "Hey, I need space."
Right.
And then just I think an important thing for people when tensions get high is to communicate
Yes.
and
Mhm.
at least say, "Hey, maybe I just need, 48 hours and
Right.
then we'll come back to this."
Right.
But obviously there are, different attachments of people, whether that's anxious or
Right.
avoidant.
Mhm.
And it's like sometimes people just want to address it right now.
Yeah.
And it's like learning, your partner or whoever, you're
Right.
communicating with.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to at least acknowledge what's going
Yeah.
on and be like,
Right.
look, this isn't necessarily between us.
Right.
Like there is no huge problem, but like, I got to figure out what's going on with me
Yeah.
kind of thing. And it's like, let's give this time. We'll come back to this.
Mhm.
And, there's just so much to process with that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then that's definitely a layer that we'll unpack in, like a different episode and
Right.
everything. But I definitely would love to talk about that more.
Yeah.
Um, how do you set boundaries
Mhm.
with, let's say, your friends?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in one of my group chats, it's like, oh, like they know that I won't respond right away because I have just so much going on. Or if you text me, like a lot of people know, like sometimes I'll mentally respond, but I don't respond. So I have to leave it unread.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But like they know that, like, oh, like I have, like, for example, like, oh, they want to go out and do something. Like for me, I'm like, I don't know if I have the social battery for it. So I'm gonna decline. But they won't like take it against me because they know like I
Yeah.
need that time to recharge for myself. So they're not gonna say like, oh, like don't like they're not gonna force me to or pressure me to go out because I said no. Like they
Mhm.
understand, like they know like I need my time
Yeah,
to recharge as an introvert. So that's
definitely.
like an example. Like
Mhm.
I make it known that like, like it's not something I have against you. It's just really like I need my time to recharge. So like maybe a next event or something, like I'll let you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they
right.
know that it's not because of them. It's just because I need my energy. Yeah.
Exactly, and which is very important, like, the one thing you have to protect is your energy,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like that's something that I do myself want to
Right.
work on next year going
Mhm.
into, because obviously there's all these things that I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
and then, you just wanna be, involved and, try and do as much as you possibly can,
Right.
but at the end of the day, you can't do everything you
Yeah.
can, right?
Mhm.
And there's that line you have to draw that it's like, "Okay, you know, what's" you just gotta listen to your body, like, listen to your
Right.
energy,
Exactly.
and then which is
Mhm.
important of, like, what do you do when those times get kinda, rough or tension? How do you, like,
Yeah.
decompress and just unwind kinda thing?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you mentioned that, you wanna do everything because, like, well, as creatives, like,
Mhm.
networking is so important, but it's hard as an introvert, but you have to put that turn that on, like, that
Yeah, yeah,
extrovert side when
yeah,
you because 'cause you're a creative, so you have to put yourself out there,
yeah.
but, I mean, burnout is real. Like, there's a lot of times where in the past, like, I would say yes to everything, but
Mhm.
then my schedule would be crazy, and I'm like, "I'm so tired, like, why am I doing this to myself?"
Yeah.
So, like, obviously, like, now, like, I've learned to, like, you know, it's okay to say no to certain events, like, they'll come back, like, if they wanna work with you and things
Yeah.
like that. But when I used to have that burnout, like, I would just really isolate myself and just, like, sleep a lot,
Mhm.
I would snack because comfort food, like, I
Yeah.
would eat a lot, and just spend time with my dog, and watch shows or, like, movies that
Mm.
I wanna watch. Like, I'm a sucker for, like, Filipino movies, even though they're cheesy and they're not the best. Well, a lot of the newer ones are actually really good.
Okay.
Like, the cinematography and the story are there. They're not like the old ones where it's just, like, drama and yelling at each other,
Yeah.
which I hated. Like, it was just always repetitive, but now they actually have, like, a lot of good, decent quality movies, so
Yeah.
that's good. But yeah, like, I would definitely, take no more gigs or things like that. Like, I would just say no to them so that I can have the time to just relax and, like, not have anything creative or, like, going on, and I can just actually enjoy the events that I'm going to because
Yeah.
when you're the one hosting or, like, performing, it's like you really don't have the time to, like, mingle with your friends or family or the people that come out because
Exactly.
you're doing everything else, like making
Yeah.
sure the event is running well, you're selling things, or, like, you're performing, or, like, you're making sure just everything else is running well, and, like, you can't really sometimes you forget to eat. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yep. Yeah,
yeah, like,
exactly.
that's why I tend to binge eat sometimes, which is not good, but,
It's all good.
in moderation.
Yeah, in moderation.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like, I just have to, like, really let myself rest and, like, yeah, just not be with people, like big crowds of people,
Yeah.
because a lot of the time, like for music stuff, like there's a lot of people. Like you have the other performers, you have the attendees, so it does get overwhelming. And yeah, I like to relax and
Good.
take my time and just listen to music or just put something on and like watch something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, how about you?
How do I, like, unwind or, like, fill my own cup? Is
Yeah,
that
or like, during times of burnout, like what do you do to recharge?
I definitely do reach out to, like, a certain friend of mine, shout out
Yeah.
Janelle.
Oh.
I do visit her in the city,
Yeah.
and we just try to I don't know, I talk things out, right?
Yeah.
I like to like you said earlier, you have to feel out your feelings and process it.
Yeah.
I definitely do get to certain points where it's like, "Hey, you kinda bottled it up too much," and it's
Uh,
reaching that certain point, which is
yeah.
the burnout, right?
Right. Mhm.
So it's like, during those times where, let's say I have to do a pop-up, I have to do an event, I
Yeah.
have to do this, I have to
Mhm.
keep going. It's that drawing that line between ambitious
Mhm.
and, like, being, ungrateful, but not
Yeah.
in the sense of, like, I'm not happy where I'm at. It's just
Mhm.
that I know I could do more,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So it's like when those times come up, it's like, "Okay, should I take this? Should I not?" But it's like, I have to keep going because I
Mm.
wanna get where I wanna get. But at the same time, it's like, what's the rush?
Right.
Right? You don't have to be always taking on certain opportunities,
Yeah.
and which I've
Mhm.
learned this year.
Right.
Not all 16 pop-ups that I did this year were hits.
Right,
Some of
right.
them were just like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that one again.
Yeah.
But back to the pouring back into myself thing. No, I definitely I think hanging out with Janelle is definitely a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I think that one's very important because she allows me to be vulnerable and provides that
Right.
safe space of
Right.
where I want to go
Mhm.
and just what I want to talk about, whether
Yeah.
that may be a negative thought
Right.
or it's like, what is going on, like
Right.
kind of thing. I still do, um, you know, I'll still eat right. I'll still go
Yeah.
to the gym. Those things are just non negotiables. I'll
Yeah.
still do those things. But at the same time, it's like when something's bothering you, you might not be your best while working out,
Yeah.
right? Or it's like,
Right.
no matter what, where you stick with your routine,
Mhm.
it's like, oh, okay, something is up.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just going through the motion,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like the ups and the downs is a hard thing, but I just try to stay as middle as possible,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Like this year was such a great year for NLF in the sense of, I've accomplished things that I've wanted to accomplish
Yeah.
and we've done so much. And it's like, I'm so grateful for those things. But it's like, I just unlocked a whole new level
Yeah.
where it's like, this is where I want to go now. Now that I learned
Right.
that this is possible,
Right.
this is what's going on. And then I'm just trying to stay on the surfboard, which is
Mm.
what I want to talk about, which is like the surfer mentality.
Yeah.
So basically, a surfer is always waiting for that next big wave,
Yeah.
right? Whether that's a small wave or a big
Mhm.
wave
Right.
to push them and give them that momentum to keep going.
Yeah.
But the surfer understands that, sometimes you're going to fall off your surfboard.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you're going to drown, but you
Right.
get back up waiting for that next slow push.
Right.
And I think that's circling back to the question. It's
Mhm.
like, you know, no matter what, I'm gonna get on that surfboard.
Yeah.
I can't surf, I don't surf, but I'm gonna get on that surfboard
Yeah.
and I'm gonna wait for that next
Right.
that next wave to come and push me into
Right.
what I want to do next.
Mhm.
Right. And as much as I want to control things, I know that things are out of my control.
Right.
So I just try to do the work that I could do
Yeah.
so that when that next opportunity is there, it's ready.
Right.
So it's like doing the work during times where no one sees it is
Mhm.
very important,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
everyone just sees the results. They just see a
Right.
song, they just
Yeah.
see your events that you're hosting,
Right. Right.
but they don't know that Kat was
Everything.
prepping for this event for like
Yeah.
4 months
Yeah,
way
yeah,
in
yeah.
advance.
Right.
She did the t-shirt, she did all the fundraising,
Yeah.
everything. It's like there's so much that goes into what we do that
Mhm.
people may not see it, but that
Right.
goes for everyone, right?
Yeah,
No one,
yeah.
we only know a page of people. We don't know the
Right.
whole story.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I try not to judge,
Mhm.
like face value, because I
Right.
know there's so much more that goes into it, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just a way to answer that question in such a long way.
Yeah, no,
But
it
yeah,
was really good though.
cool. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I hope people do realize that, no matter what, it's like back to the surfer mentality. Just get on your surfboard.
Yeah.
You may not know what's next, but
Right.
you just keep going, kind of
Yeah, you
thing,
have to
right?
keep going.
Yeah, which is what next year is going to be.
Yeah.
And what this year was for me is just, I didn't know all these things were going to happen. It's
Right.
just, I just showed up
Right.
and
Mhm.
just did the work. And it's like, somehow
Exactly.
we're here.
Yeah.
Somehow Kat brought us to Baba's house in Oakland. Somehow she
Yeah.
brought us to Fremont. And then we're wearing chef uniforms. Like,
Yeah.
what is happening right now,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So it's always fun. And I'm always grateful for all the opportunities that you lend our way.
Oh,
And it's always
yeah.
nice seeing you at Fam Jam, at Undiscovered,
Yeah.
wherever that may be,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really nice to see you at all these events and making those connections. I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. What
Yeah.
events do you have lined up for next year?
I honestly have no events
No event.
lined
Okay,
up.
okay, okay.
Like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Uh-huh. It's
But
all
it's
right.
in the works. Yeah, I
Mhm,
need to
mhm.
plan and, like, brainstorm all of that, which also brings me to, like, I started, like, my, vision board for next
Oh,
year.
okay.
My realtor actually had, like, a workshop.
Okay,
So
uh-huh.
this is, like, I guess, last month or October, I forgot when, but I like it because she's really intentional with it.
Mhm.
Like, you know how usually you just like cut up pictures from
Yeah.
like magazines or whatever. This one, like, she really wanted you to use your own personal photos.
Oh.
So it's like more personable, or for someone who sees it, like it's like, oh, like it's actually photos of you and like you're traveling and things like that you want to do. And like it also has like written prompts. So like one of the interesting things that she put in that template was what is your eulogy? Like, it sounds
Whoa,
morbid, but
deep.
it's actually really helpful because it's like, well, if you leave this earth, like,
Mhm,
what are the things that you wanted to accomplish? So it
mhm,
like really made me think. And
mhm,
like,
mhm.
so it was a really good exercise to have in that, vision board.
Yeah,
Cause that, like, I just really want to have like a life where I feel like I was able to impact someone.
yeah.
Like, so that's a lot of the things that I like to, write about or like have my purpose in is just like you can make a difference like in one person's life and like that's all that matters
That's
to
all that
me.
matter,
Like
right?
I want
Yes.
people to, know that like I was there for them, like I was a supportive friend and like just things like that like
Yeah.
was on my eulogy. But I also put things of like, I was able to go on tour.
Okay,
Like
okay, yes,
that's something I
that will happen,
want.
that will
Yeah.
happen.
But yeah, it was a very intentional exercise. So I really recommend it.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I
Yeah.
need to hear more about that because 'cause I've
Mhm.
never done a vision board,
Oh,
and
okay.
then having a written prompt too, that's
Right.
actually
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely share that.
yeah, wow, what is your eulogy?
Yeah.
That's a good
It's
one.
deep.
Yeah. What so that's what you wanna be is that your legacy or, like, what you wanna be remembered
Yeah,
by?
yeah. Kind of something like what is your legacy that you want to leave behind and like what are the things that you wanted to have done? So, yeah, there's a lot of things that I wrote down.
I
It's
bet.
like such small font because I
Oh,
needed it to fit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like I'll definitely do more of those. I feel like it's nice to like also do like monthly recaps of like your year or like a lot of things that you
Okay.
want to do. Like that's something I also want to implement next year is like what did you do at like this month? Like what did you accomplish or what are
Mhm.
these things that you want to do next month? So it reminds you of like, your why. Like why are you doing this and like look at all the things that you've done. Like be proud of it
Yeah.
because like you forget about it in the big picture of
Yes.
things. Like you look it back and you're like, "Whoa, I did all these things." And yeah, it just really helps you reflect on like, "Whoa." Like it
Um,
might not seem like a big thing at that time, but like at the end of the year you're like, "Whoa." Like I
yeah.
did that.
That's what
Yeah.
yeah, I will definitely do that because I had a point in time just a couple of weeks ago where I was
Mhm.
really down and I forgot everything I did this year
Yeah.
and I had to really think like, wow, like yeah, we
Yeah.
did a lot this year,
Right.
but I don't know, I just had a point where I kind of got jaded for a little bit. But
Mm,
it's always
mhm.
nice like you said to,
Right.
remind yourself and say, okay, I'm grateful that I was able to accomplish all
Yeah.
these things.
Mhm.
So what are these pictures that you're putting on it?
Yeah, so, for me, like, I put pictures of, like, me traveling
Ah,
because I
okay.
wanna travel more. That's something I used to do so often, like, before pandemic,
Hmm.
but, I haven't, like, traveled a lot as recently. But, yeah, I put, like, photos of, like, me working out or, like, um just places I wanna go, things that I wanna do or, like, shows that I wanna go
Yeah.
to,
Uh-huh.
things like that. Like, actual photos of, like, me and, like or eating, like like, really good things. Like, I
Uh-huh.
wanna discover all these really nice places to eat or things like just small things like that, and,
Yeah.
like, photos of your family and your friends and, like, whatever goals that you have with like, oh, like I want to travel with them, like I want to bring them to Disneyland this year or something.
Hmm.
So like having if you have the photos for it, then that's even better because the template like you could actually like print it out and so like if you put it like in your room in your bathroom like it just keeps it's there all the time so like it makes you think about it
Yeah.
like more often. So, like, it
Mm-hmm.
reminds you also to just, like, keep going towards your goals, or it reminds you of, like, the things that you wanna do.
Yeah.
So
I love that answer because you didn't just give a creative thing, you gave a personal. Like
yeah.
it was very well rounded and it
Mhm.
goes to show that, it's not just you're not just focused on the creative things. You're
Yeah.
focused on yourself, you're focused on your
Right.
family and your loved ones
Yeah.
and just what matters to you, right?
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
Mhm.
Wow, okay. So I'm kind of getting the feeling of what the vision board is about now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What other things do you like besides a vision board and
Mhm.
journaling?
Yeah.
What else do you like to do to quote unquote manifest?
Um, I mean, I listen to a lot of or affirmations.
Okay, yeah. Uh-huh,
Yeah, because
definitely.
like, it puts you in that mindset of like, like you talk to yourself in the mirror. It's weird at first, but like it really does help though. Like, when you talk to yourself nicely, it's like, oh, and then also another exercise that I used to do is like I just think about myself as that little girl, and I'm like, if she were to see where I'm at now, like, I would cry. Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't think that, I've done all these things, but, like, whenever I'm in, like, that moment of, like, oh, like, I'm down or something, like, I remind myself, like, to think of myself as that little girl, and, like,
Mm.
that puts me back and, like, in that mindset of, like, wow, like, I'm doing these things for that little girl, like, I'm trying to heal that girl, like,
Yeah.
so sorry, what was I think
No,
I
no,
went on
you
a tangent again.
you're good. I think what I wanna, touch on that you spoke about was, it really matters how you talk to yourself,
Yes,
right? And
yes.
it's like
Oh, affirmations, that's where we were.
affirmations, yes. We'll come back
Yeah,
to
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I think it's very important for people to realize you have to be careful with what you take in.
Yeah,
We scroll on our feed all the single
right.
time
Yes,
with
yeah.
so much, right?
Mhm.
And it could just be draining to
Right,
yourself. So you just have to be intentional with what you take in and make sure that
right,
it's pouring yourself,
right.
right? Pouring back into yourself.
Yeah,
And I think that goes with everything, the music you listen to,
yeah,
the things you watch on TV,
exactly.
right? And how like you said, in moderation before.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
social media,
right.
if you're gonna see some crazy stuff, all right, maybe time to put the phone down, right?
Yeah.
And go do something, that's fulfilling. That's very
Right.
nice for
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned that. I can't talk. Consumption.
Yes.
So, when it comes to like manifesting things, like, you can unfollow people.
Yeah,
You can change your
yes.
algorithm
Exactly. It's just
on,
the internet.
like on Instagram,
Yeah.
Twitter, anything. But like I try to like have my algorithm filled with like, like quotes that are like positive, or
Mhm.
like things like, oh, like, I am wealthy, I am healthy.
Yes.
Like,
Which is important because it's
yeah,
present
right, right,
affirmations.
in the present. So, like, yeah, like, it's important to consume things that you want to happen, or things that resonate with you, like, that'll help you move forward. So, like you said, like, manifesting with, like, listening to certain music,
Yeah.
like, it also affects your mind, like,
Mhm.
so I try to have certain playlists and things, that I like to listen to when I'm, like, journaling, or it
Mm.
gets me in that mindset of, like, positivity, or, like, in that affirming mindset.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I try to listen to things that resonate with me, and, um, really, like, go with, like, the themes of, like, what my goals are. So, like, I try to have certain things like on Pinterest, like it's a really useful tool also for like goal setting and like what you want to do for next year,
Yeah.
because it really puts you in that place. But it's nice also to have like lists of things, of
Mhm.
like things that you want to do, like whether that's with spiritual, or like physical, or like creative. Like you can have all these lists, but like just make sure they're all intentional with like
Gotcha.
what you want, and just put words or feelings associated with it, like on that,
Mhm.
like whether it's Pinterest or like your journaling, your music. But yeah, like again, like going back to what you said about mindset and talking to yourself, it's like really important that you talk to yourself in a positive way.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, because it's important. Like again, like as a kid, you're like, oh, like I don't even think that I had positive affirmations. I didn't learn about that
Probably
as a
not, probably
kid.
not. No,
But, like, when
yeah.
I see,
Same,
like, for
same.
example, like, there's a lot of, like, reels and TikToks of, like, the next generation of parents, now, and, like, seeing how their kids, talk, and talk to themselves, and, like, in the mirror, like, talking like, "I am smart," It's like, oh, like, I wish I did that as a kid, but
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a
Exact
thing. But,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, it just, it really, makes me happy that there is this new generation of parents that are able to like instill that in their kids like early on, like that mindset.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, it works.
How important is it to actually write things down? Because it's all in our head, right? We're always
Yeah,
having these thoughts.
right.
But speak on why is it so important to actually, put it
Mhm.
on paper?
Yeah, well, I mean, cuz when it's in your head, like sometimes it gets lost, but when you see it like physically on paper and writing it down, it's like, whoa, like it's permanent.
Mhm.
Like, what I mean, it's obviously in your mind, like, it could
Yeah,
be
yeah,
permanent,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
different when you visualize it and you see it and it's there on paper, like, you could
Yes.
cross it out.
Right?
Um, but yeah, I think just putting out what you want to happen, like in a physical form. Like it helps the
Mhm.
visualization of it, of
Yes.
like the feeling of it. So I think um in addition to like just talking it out, like writing it down or just seeing it in visual, like really puts your head or like your mind in it more. Like
Right?
you're engulfed in it more.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think an example that comes to my head is, let's say, someone's a basketball player
Mhm.
and they're trying to practice a certain move, or let's
Right.
say the game is online, they want to hit a game winner, right? They could visualize it as much as they
Right.
can, which is great.
Yeah.
They have to feel it.
Right.
They have to feel, what is that pressure like? What
Yeah.
does it feel like making that shot?
Mhm.
And then number three, more importantly, they have to go and practice that shot.
Yeah.
They have to actually, go out there and go on the court and practice it.
Yeah.
And I think that's with what we're saying is that you could write it down, you could feel it, which are two very important. It
Yeah.
takes all three steps,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
It's like you actually have to be about it,
Yeah.
right? All these positive affirmations, all these, inspirational quotes, they could all
Mhm.
help. But
Right.
at the end of the day, you have to take action on it
Mhm.
and do something about it for it to work,
Mhm.
right? And, it's I don't want to downplay all the other sides,
Right.
but in order for it to really work is the action part,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, I hope people really take that because, we listen to self-help podcasts, we listen
Yeah.
to self-help books, or we
Right.
read, we and consume all these things.
Mhm.
But then if you're not gonna make it shake, then what's gonna happen, right?
Yeah. Like you need to apply what you read like
Exactly.
to yourself.
Mhm.
You can't just read all these books in the world and nothing will happen unless
Exactly.
you change or apply those into your own life and figure out what works
Yeah.
for
So what are
you.
some actionable steps that you
Mhm.
recommend for people to take on, let's say, going for their big goal in 2025?
Mm. I mean, obviously, you want to set those goals. Like, you can't reach goals if you don't set them.
Exactly. Correct. Yeah.
But you have to be really specific. Also, like SMART goals. I know it's not
Mhm.
like that work talk, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
you need to do them. It's the
Uh-huh.
same thing with like your personal goals. Like, how are you going to achieve them? Like, are you specific? Like, how many minutes of your time are you going to dedicate? How frequent are you going to do that until what time? Like, what is your timeline for doing this, or how soon do you want to accomplish it? So, like, I guess really like being intentional with putting your goals and those steps into what works for you and like how quickly or how much discipline you want to put into it. Like if you want to go to the gym, that's great. Like you don't have to go for an hour if you don't want to rush it. Like if you want to take your time and like let's say with eating, like it's better to be consistent than like oh like make it really hard for yourself, be like, "No sweets," like 100%.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
could start off with something small and be like,
Yes.
"Okay, I'm not going to have boba, like, twice in the same week." Like, that's a small goal or something small like
Mhm.
that. Like, just really something realistic that you think you can do for yourself in that time.
Mhm.
But you can always change the difficulty,
Yes.
but start
Yeah.
small.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
that will help build up, that foundation to be consistent
Right.
because consistency is, I think, greater than, like, other things.
Exactly, no,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Discipline and consistency will get you so far,
Yeah.
right? And like you said, you gave great examples, especially coming into the new year when people
Yeah.
set their resolutions and
Right.
goals. It is their fitness, it is
Right.
their, diet and everything,
Yeah.
which, start small. You don't have
Yeah.
to do an hour a day. You can go
Right.
30 minutes, but
Right.
just show up.
15 minutes.
15 minutes even.
Yeah.
Get on the treadmill, you're good.
Right.
Yeah.
It's something. You're in
Yeah.
there.
Right,
You'll get
exactly.
used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think, also remembering this time of the year, people may feel really low, or,
Right.
just that seasonal depression, or,
Right.
you know, stuff, a lot of stuff happens in one year, right?
Yeah.
You never know what's gonna happen next year. And
Mhm.
you don't know who you're gonna lose, you don't know
Right.
where your situation is going to be.
Mhm.
It's just like, what advice do you have for people closing out the year,
Mhm.
in the sense of like, hey, it's okay.
Yeah. I guess I would say, like, there will be mistakes. There will be mistakes, but that's good because if you don't have your mistakes, then how are you going to learn from them? So,
Yes.
like, even if you didn't accomplish all of the things that you wanted to do, I mean, you could always plan for them again
Yeah.
and you know, you can do certain things at a different time if it's not working out, this year you can
Yeah.
always start fresh. So, and the day always ends. So like
Yeah.
you always have tomorrow.
Mhm.
Um, and I would just say, like, just do the thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, even with me, like, there's a lot of things that I would say, I guess it would be excuses, or laziness, but like, I would definitely just make myself like, even if it's not perfect, just try. Just
Yes.
start. Just do
Mhm.
something. And then at least you have a starting point to work from instead of not having anything at all. Cause I used to fall for that a lot. It's like, oh, like I have to do so many things and then I don't end up doing it. So
Yeah.
like just start. Just
Yes.
start one thing and then go from there. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be perfect. At least you have a starting point
Yeah,
to
yeah.
work with. And then another thing, it also relates to, the physical and mental health thing.
Mhm.
But like you can be in the gym, you can be there every day and be physically fit, but if your mind isn't right, it's not gonna happen. Like
Mm-mm.
your mind is actually more powerful than your
Yes.
physical state. Like, so for everyone, make sure that your mental mindset is right, along with your physical.
Mhm.
But don't just focus on the physical that you neglect your mental because everything is in here.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
your mental health is really important. So, like, if you don't have anything to take care of your mental health, I would just say start small and like just take 5 minutes, 5 minutes to just meditate or sit
Mhm.
in silence
Yep.
or do something or write. Just write anything that comes in your mind and like talk it out with someone if you have someone that you trust and like is supportive of you. Like just talk and like get things off your mind and make sure that you are okay. Like,
Yeah.
because you can go to the gym every day, you can eat the right things, but if your mental health isn't right, like it's not the right foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
a lot of people think that they can neglect their mental health and their physical health. They'll just keep working on it, but they'll forget. But
Yeah.
they're both important. They
Right.
go hand in hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think I messaged you this earlier this year, but this is what I learned from one of the first lessons that I've learned when I started therapy was don't swing big. You don't
Mm,
have to swing big. It doesn't take a home run to get you where you want to go.
yeah.
It could take little swings every single
Mhm.
time to get you
Yeah.
where you want to be. And I think that's very important for people to, you know, if they want a drastic change in their life, it doesn't require big drastic changes. You just
Yeah.
got to do the small
Small.
stuff
Mhm.
and it will get there for
Right.
sure. Like
Mhm.
it is a foolproof plan. Not to say that it's guaranteed
Yeah.
because things are out of our control.
Mhm.
But if you could do all these small little steps, it'll get there,
Yeah. It
right?
adds up.
It adds up,
Yeah.
right? And I think, you know, not to say that it's a hard thing or an easy thing. It's
Mhm.
just a thing. And
Right.
you just kind of got to get it done.
Yeah.
And it comes down to like, how bad do you want it?
Right.
Do you really want to make a difference in your life, a positive impact? Then you kind of have to go out there and do something,
Right.
right? If you go home and just sit and just watch TV or Netflix,
Yeah.
that's not gonna get you to your goal, right?
Right.
It's like, okay, take 5 minutes out of your day
Mhm.
to work on that goal that you want and then slowly build it up.
Right.
And it's like, you know, it's a I know people say easier said than done,
Mhm.
but then just kind of got to do it.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. What other advices do you have for people coming into the new year?
Um,
Or is there anything you want to like just overall share?
let's see. I guess coming into the new year, do more things that you're scared to do.
Mm,
Because yeah, I mean just there has to be like a lot of bucket list things that people have
yeah,
that they're scared to do. Like don't let fear get in the way of that.
exactly.
Like
Walk with fear. Oh,
do
faith.
one new thing that scares you. Like I've done that
Yeah.
like this year like a lot of times and I'm like, "Whoa, like it wasn't that bad." Like
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be big like you mentioned. Like it could be something small like, "Oh, like I went to heels class and like I don't dance like
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
was fun." And
Nice.
like yeah, like that scared me, but now it's less intimidating. So it's like, yeah, just do something. Like don't let anyone deter you from that or don't feel judged about doing something. Like
Yeah.
even older people are doing new things for the first time and like they're
Pickleball.
doing
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
like you can do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's very important to spread out at least if you're looking through your 2020
Mhm.
2025, put a big goal in there.
Yeah.
Include it. You can
Right.
sprinkle in maybe like 3 or 4, so
Right.
you always have something to look forward to and
Yeah.
to work towards,
Right.
but also have your mini goals in between.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's like, slowly you'll realize, like, "Hey, I just did 10 goals,
Yeah.
like 10 small goals. Whoa, that's a big win."
Mhm.
And you do your big goal, you're stepping out of your comfort zone,
Right.
right? Which is huge.
Yeah.
I definitely like, what do you wanna do? What are some of your big goals going into
Ooh,
next year?
big goals. I I definitely wanna travel internationally.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I wanna go back to the Philippines, to visit my uncle. But another big goal that I hope is, writing my EP.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Definitely
Mhm.
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And I know we're wrapping things up right now. I just wanted to, thank you, Kat. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bay Area Podcasts. Shout out Aaron. Very
Woo.
grateful. This was such a blessed and awesome experience. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you for your energy today. And I love
Yeah.
that conversation. We look forward to, putting out more episodes and
Thanks,
talking about more about
Vince,
life.
for having me too.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Nice.